Welcome to Dom's Roundtable, my friends, and to another in my series of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 guides. In this video, let's take a look at 10 common mistakes that you could be making that are in turn stopping you from reaching your full potential and enjoying the game as much as you could be. This is an incredible game. I truly love Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, but it is also extremely realistic and brutally unforgiving, especially if you play it like pretty much any other modern game. So without any more waffling, let's jump straight into the first mistake that you may be making, that's making KCD2 way harder than it needs to be. The first thing you need to do is to stop overeating, and I know from personal experience that is easier said than done, especially because in this game it can be really satisfying to see that nourishment go above 100. We have always been taught that 100 is the magic number in games, 100% health, 100% mana, 100% energy, and it feels like getting your nourishment above 100 is something that you should be striving to achieve, when in fact it is quite the opposite. It's so easy to see your nourishment drop to around 90 and then eat a big slab of meat and see your nourishment shoot up to 120 plus, which in turn will then have a huge drain on your stamina. Just like in real life, if you've eaten too much and you're too bloated, you are going to have less energy, you are going to have less stamina, and you're not going to be able to run as far or fight as well. And that makes overeating in this game just as bad, if not worse, than most actual debuffs, because you can take quite a significant hit to your stamina, meaning that you're not going to be able to fight for as long or run as far, and every time you run out of stamina, especially in a fight, it's really hard to start regaining it, and quite often it ends up in death. In fact, as you can see, you can actually let your nourishment get all the way down to 50 before you start to see any negative effects. Now, starving yourself is even worse than overeating. If you go below 50, you take an even bigger hit to your stamina, and your vision starts to go very blurry. And on top of this, there is a bunch of perks that will make your nourishment last even longer and make your food even more effective. So realistically, you'll probably only need to eat one big food item per day, and then you are sorted. You really need to stop overeating and just manage your nourishment between 50 and 100, and you are going to be so much more effective in every situation. Just as with overeating, the same can go for alcohol. However, for very, very different reasons, this one is super crucial, because sometimes being drunk is a benefit. And a big one at that. So firstly, let's look at the different icons associated with drunkenness, so you know when it's good and when it's bad. So if you see this happy chappy here smiling away holding his pint of beer, this means you are in the good drunk phase, and you can benefit from many buffs in this phase. Though again, just like in real life, make sure that you sip your drinks, don't absolutely neck 5 pints at once, because the effects of drunkenness will take some time to take effect, and it's very easy to tip over into this state, and if you see this symbol, you're now into the negative effects of drunkenness. You are now too drunk, you're not going to benefit from any of the positives, and you are going to start to see a lot of negatives. And as you see here, I'm getting progressively more and more drunk. My vision is getting really blurry. I can barely stand anymore. And then you literally black out. You will wake up in a completely different location, and you will still be incredibly drunk. So that just about covers all of the negative things associated to alcohol in this game. Oh, also, if you drink too much, you can become addicted to it as well and get a permanent negative effect. So make sure, again, you are drinking in moderation and you are staying in that positive, happy stage of drunkenness. Now for all of the benefits and why it is actually really good to have a drink in this game. Firstly, there are a few vital moments in this game where being able to hold your drink comes in really handy, and being able to outdrink people can diffuse a surprising amount of situations. And also, as you can see here, there are many perks that benefit from you being in that positive state of drunkenness. Things such as having increased thievery stats, increased craftsmanship, making less noise, taking less fall damage, and even being so lucky at dice that you can use your badge multiple times. And as you see here, I just had an absolute banger of a round. I just made over 1200 points. I've used my Warlord's badge to make that nearly 1900 points for this round. And as you'll see at the top right hand corner, Lucky Day has activated and I now get to use my Warlord's badge again. And this is all because I decided to have a drink. So as long as you are not abusing alcohol in this game, it can be a very, very powerful servant. This next one may be pretty obvious to most, but it bears repeating in case you didn't know. Do not equip freshly stolen items. It's one of the easiest and quickest ways to make enemies of everyone around, because they will immediately alert all nearby residents and guards that you are wearing their clothes. So if you are planning on stealing something, make sure you only wear it very, very far away from where you stole it, or just keep checking on your inventory until that red hand goes away and it no longer has the stolen modifier. There are a few perks that will allow this to go away quicker, and even perks that will allow you to determine if something is considered stolen in the area you are currently in. And also there is some more wording associated with stolen items, which literally says stolen from God knows where. And that means you have stolen it whilst you were out and about adventuring, and because it was from a camp that no one knows about, and you probably murdered everyone at the camp anyway, this is safe to wear anywhere. But yes, don't wear the stolen items around the people you just stole them from, and also don't try and sell them until that stolen modifier has been removed from the item, which is after, I believe, around 2 to 3 days. Another thieving mistake you could be making, even if you are an incredibly good thief and you never get spotted, is the fact that the more crime that happens in an area, the more people will start to become overly cautious of everything and everyone around them. Tensions will rise, guards will be more likely to stop you and do random searches of your possessions, relations could even decrease, meaning you are treated less favourably, and shopkeepers may even increase their prices to account for all of the theft. Oh, and people will be much more on edge of any suspicious activity, so if you are seen doing anything suspicious, you may be then accused of other crimes, and because you have absolutely no way to prove you didn't do it, you will then get even more crimes attributed to you, even if you didn't do them. So 2 big takeaways for this were to help you stop making this mistake. Firstly, make sure you remember which towns you have targeted recently if you are on a robbing spree, and rotate where you are stealing things from, so that no one particular place becomes too tense and cautious of outsiders. And as you will see here, you can see at the top center of my screen the bunny rabbit searching around. That's because everyone is on edge. Everyone is searching for any sign of stolen stuff, because I've just gone on an absolute robbing spree around this area. But the great news for me is I have 100% perfect relations with this town. So I am about the last person they would suspect. So as long as I act very normally and act with decorum, as I talked about in my previous video, I will not be suspected. This is how it looks if a town is very on edge, because pretty much everyone has had everything stolen, but they all love you so much that you are not the one being accused. However, if I was to come back here in the exact same situation to a town that I hadn't built my relations up with, I would almost immediately have the finger pointed at me. So another great tip is to make friends with everyone and do loads of quests, and then you can pretty much rob and do whatever you like and no one will suspect you, as long as they don't literally catch you red-handed. The next mistake you might be making is adventuring without the bare essentials. There are 4 items that I advise you always take with you in quite specific quantities to make sure that you don't befall a fate worse than death and lose hours worth of progress. These items are absolutely essential to take with you just in case the worst should happen. So at a bare minimum, I would advise leaving town with at least 4 bandages, because 4 bandages are needed to fully heal a completely bleeding body part, though I advise 8 to 12, because then you've got 2 or 3 body parts you can completely heal up on the go. Also 1 or 2 Saviour Schnapps. This way, if you see a group of thugs off in the distance, that could be guarding some crazy valuable loot, you won't be as worried to go and try and take them all on, because you can just take a drink first in case anything goes wrong. Usually I'm not an advocate for save scumming in video games, but the fact that Saviour Schnapps are limited and costly in KCD2, to me this feels like a mechanic that you can be using to your advantage, and you are just being efficient with your resources and maximizing the in-game systems. And finally, as we talked about food earlier, I would advise bringing 8 to 10 long-lasting food items for you and Mutt. Ideally dried smoked meats, because they give you lots of nutrition, meaning you don't need too many of them, saving you inventory space for all of your loot. And the fourth and final item is going to be 1 or 2 stomach decoctions, just in case you are out for a very, very long adventure and you do happen to run out of all your food, or you overfeed Mutt because you love dogs so much, because that's usually what happens to me. Then you will need to find some nasty food whilst you're out and about, and probably end up getting food poisoning just to stop yourself from starving. But fear not, that's why you brought stomach decoctions with you. This next tip you'll already be familiar with if you've watched a few of my other Kingdom Come guides, but it bears repeating because this is so important and something that I know a lot of people, for whatever reason, are not utilizing. I am talking about the 3 different armor sets that the game allows you to set up. It is so important to carry around a few extra armor pieces with you that are tailored to specific situations. The game lets you set up 3 different sets and switch them out appropriately, apart from if you're in combat, and these are the 3 sets that I advise you have on you. Firstly, a heavy defense set for combat. This way you are going to take significantly less damage, and I am literally talking from 1 hit taking 80% of your health bar to 1 hit not even hurting you, because your armor is so powerful that the blow cannot penetrate. So a heavy defense combat set. Next up, an all black ideally, or at least dark color clothing stealth and thievery set, and you want this to be very lightweight and very quiet as well, because sound is just as important as sight when you are trying to go undetected. Again, super realism in this game. And finally, a flamboyant and regal character boosting set with all the bells and whistles and a necklace, robes and gems and sparkles, because the more regal you look and the more noble you look, the more your charisma stat will be boosted and the more people are likely to listen to you and do things for you. Another mistake you could be making is not utilizing sleeping as efficiently as you could be. This is not simply a way to refresh your energy. It is so much more than this. In fact, with a couple of perks and the right bed, you can be fully rested from 0% from practically becoming unconscious because you're so tired, back to 100% energy within 3 to 5 hours. However, most places completely shut up shop for 10 to 12 hours. So you want to be efficient with your nighttime hours. And the best 2 things I can advise to do with all of this extra time is firstly to practice your slightly less than honest skills, as we alluded to earlier in the video. But if you are worried about doing this and you're worried about getting caught and your thievery is particularly low, don't worry, I've got a full thievery guide coming out soon. But in the short term, even if you are worried about robbing people and picking locks and getting it wrong and getting caught, simply by sneaking around in private areas and crouching, or even better, going on a stealing spree in a trespassing area, is going to increase various stats related to stealth, agility, and your other roguery stats. And trust me, this will all come in very handy much later on in the game. And obviously, as I've already mentioned, both on my website and in previous videos, another great way to use your nighttime hours is to study and read all your books so you can increase your other skills. Talking of making the most of your time, another great and often underutilized mechanic is skipping time. Remember that if you don't have a bed nearby that is yours to rest in, you can't just go sleeping in someone else's bed. It is a crime, And it's surprisingly harshly punished, in my opinion, especially when it's genuinely an honest mistake and you have good relations with this person. But you cannot, under any circumstances, do this. So if you are just trying to rest to skip the time because you have nothing better to do and you need to wait for the shops to open, or you need to wait for a certain NPC to arrive, don't wander around wasting your actual real life minutes. Just skip time for a few hours until whoever or whatever you were waiting for has arrived, and job done. It's as simple as that. Another mistake that is so easy to make in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is to play it like a game, and not like the very realistic medieval life simulator that it truly is. And by this I mean how you choose to act and dress and compose yourself. These all have very real effects on how everyone around will perceive you and treat you, and all of these interactions have lasting effects on the overall relationship that the entire town has on you. As I said earlier, if you have high reputation with the town, they are much more likely to pass you over as a potential culprit for any crimes in the area. So do everything you can to act with decorum. Be respectful, put your weapon away before you enter town, make sure you wash yourself, make sure if you are planning on stealing anything that nobody sees you. In fact, I have two clips here of walking around town with a weapon out in a town with bad relations, and the same in a town with good relations. And they are so much more lenient with you if you have good relations. In fact, it tends to only be the bailiff themselves that will even try and stop you. Every other guard will exclaim, "Oi, put your weapon away," and then they'll just do nothing about it. They will just stand there and let you walk on by with your sword out, because they trust you and they know you. Whereas if you don't, the first guard that you see will hound you and hound you until you put that weapon away or you end up in the stocks. And it's the same if you are in areas you shouldn't be in. So in this clip, I start reading a book, forgetting that I'm in an area that at night isn't for the public. So it becomes nighttime as I'm reading my book, and they just very gently and calmly tell me to leave. Whereas if I had bad relations here, it would have probably very quickly ended in bloodshed or me needing to pay a massive fine. So just make sure you are being very, very respectful and peaceful and just generally a nice person when you're in towns that you would like to build relations with. And trust me, it's going to pay off in dividends later on down the line once you do have 100 relation with everyone. And finally, my friends, don't keep saving up your perk points and using them all at once. Every single time you see you've gained a new level that has also granted you a perk point because you've unlocked the next category of perks, make sure you go into the menu and do that immediately, because some of them are game changing and you want all of these perks active the second you can get them. I know that it is way more satisfying to save up like a dozen points and spend them all at once. I absolutely love I guess it's the dopamine hit that gives you of having so many levels to churn out. It feels so good to me. I hate going into the menu, literally spending 1 point, and then I'm like, oh, it's done now. But trust me, you are really detrimenting your game if that's how you choose to play. So make sure you're checking this menu regularly in case you have missed a new skill point. Make sure you are spending your perks and getting these little boosts as often as you can, because some of them are incredibly powerful. And with that, my friends, make sure you subscribe to Dom's Roundtable so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming guides. Make sure you go check out the brand new website that's been up a few days now as well. And all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.